This episode of Chiedza to Africa is proudly sponsored by Tank Pro. Tank Pro under Elite Tank Limited is your premier business consultancy, transforming vision into excellence for students and businesses worldwide. Offering professional short courses, website development, digital marketing, project management, bookkeeping, business support, and HR solutions. They are here to elevate your success. Dial +44 73 916 37370, or you can WhatsApp or visit www.tankpro.co.uk to learn more and take the next step towards your goals. Stay tuned in for more inspiring content.
Society and household education everywhere. So we see, that's why for me, what is said is that the reality is there are some people who study science. That is a mistake. Everybody should study science. Why? Because if you study the three qualities of a human being, we are primarily spiritual beings, gifted with a marvelous mind we have never seen, and we live in physical bodies. The three qualities of spirit are omnipresence, which is we are 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. We are omnipotent. We've inherited that from the Creator God. Omnipotent means all powerful. Omniscience means all knowing. And what is science? Isn't science a body of knowledge made up of things that have been discovered and things yet to be discovered? That's why we do research, so that we can come up with innovations, new ways of doing things. So if omniscience is a quality we've inherited from the Creator God, why then is it that some people only study that part of ourselves? It is called, and this year during National Science Week, the theme is science, technology, and innovations are for everyone. For everyone. We need to colonize every space with science, technology, and innovation. So every human understands themselves to be the most complex science exhibit in existence. That's who we are. Humans, we are powerful beyond measure. So understanding that we are the ultimate science exhibit, mass of energy, high speed of vibration, we operate on frequencies. There's no way that we will continue with this thing that some people must study science and others should just hear what the scientists say. In the science engagement strategy, we want to develop a science literate society that values and appreciates science, critically engages with science, and make informed decisions for themselves, how to use science to create and extract value. Science is powerful. It is relevant, it is accessible, and we need to use it to create life in abundance. And that's where my wealth creation comes.
And science doesn't die, but rather it evolves.
It evolves
every day. So when you mentioned that we should encourage people to study everything, especially science.
Yes.
When you talk, let's say you're trying to raise a point to someone. Some people are quick to say, they are quick to say, no, I don't understand this. Then their arguments are very poor because they themselves, they don't want to take the time into learning. They only want one person to spoon feed them with information. And that's when most people get it wrong. Because if I'm to only wait for Mr. Daniel to research and give me information, maybe something that Mr. Daniel has researched, he missed the point. Now we're going to live 10 years on a point that has been missed. Whereas I could have also joined in that research to make sure that the point is not missed, but it sticks together. This is very important. I think I'm starting to like science. I need to learn more in the science department. Now, Let's talk about space technology like satellite data for remote sensing drives. So we also mentioned that space education is important in driving the economic growth. Now, there's something that you mentioned that I also want to put an emphasis on in terms of science and technology and innovation. Because when you're walking down the streets, you try to talk to someone, you will see that people are just used to the norm. They don't think that Africa as a whole has the capacity to really build a live vision of Wakanda using science and technology. They think it's just for the Western countries. But this is now something that African governments are now encouraging people to implement. We need to learn science. We need to learn to be innovative on our own, because yes, here in Africa we have so much people that are underrated when it comes to science and technology. If we were to really Google, we can actually find amazing African scientists that people don't know about. We are only used to Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, but many people are not used to Daniel Matsapola. So this is something that is changing the narrative for the African society. So can you also maybe really inform us how space education can really transform an economy as a whole?
So, in every nation globally, not just in South Africa, when we talk of the economy, there are three major players. It's the government, it's businesses / industry, right? Largely established in economic centers, economic hubs like Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, Durban. Then there is households. Of these three players that contribute, I mean government, who's in government? People who come from households. Who's in companies as employees and executives? People who come from households. The capital, for me, the hub, when lockdown hit us during the global pandemic, where did we all run to? Not to government, not to industry. We were locked in our houses. In the emerging knowledge economy, households have a meaningful role to play. Traditionally, households headed by two executives, father and mother, with children as executives in the making, have been employees who go to work. Let's say I'm a science graduate, put together a CV, apply for a job at SANSA, I'm appointed. I always say to the young people in schools as part of my career, a career awareness session, that I get paid to mind the business of the space agency. This is not my business, right? When we begin to understand what our business is as individuals and quit this thing of climbing a corporate ladder instead of owning the corporate ladder, right? So I read a book by Kiyosaki Robert, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he said in that book, we are conditioned, right, to mind everybody else's business but our own. So I am very clear. I read that book 23 years ago. I still have a copy in my home office library, and I don't watch TV. I spend most of my time in the library studying, reading, writing. Right. So economy, it's an integrated process, supply and demand. Households must play, going forward, a very meaningful role. Research, it's not just something done at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research or National Research Foundation. Households must do research. Why? Who is Mark Shuttleworth? How did Mark Shuttleworth become a billionaire from being a graduate of computer science at the University of Cape Town? Started a business in his parents' garage, built it into a multi-billion rand investment, sold it to some American company for billions of rands, gave everybody, including the lady cleaning the floor, 1 million rand each. What are we to learn from these stories? Our homes should not be relegated to being places where we go and just get entertained, watching TV, sports, eat and sleep. In fact, if you really read the tax laws of every country, they are written in favor of entrepreneurs. So if you really read the intent behind the tax laws of every country, they are meant to stimulate economic activity. The mistake is that the education system is set up to produce job consumers, not job creators, not wealth creators. So we come out all looking for one thing, a job. And a job is a man-made platform, right? It's a platform for exchanging value. I bring skills, knowledge, experience, and gifts and talents to my job, and I grow the portfolio my employer gives to me. Right. So economy becomes powerful when we understand the role of the citizen. Not just, if you use the words of America's president, who's credited with ending slavery, Abraham Lincoln, ask not what the government can do for you. The attitude of the citizen should be, what can I do for and with the government? In fact, when I started working, my minister at Department of Communications, Dr. Ivy Matsapola, she passed away. She said to us, we introduced ourselves to her. You know, she's a minister. She's this big person coming in. We are down at the bottom of the corporate ladder. After we've introduced ourselves, some saying, I am working in this, under this manager, under this leader. She said, let me correct something for you. My children, you don't work for the government. You work with the government. You happen to work with the government from within the government. You can work with the government from outside the government as a private citizen, entrepreneur, investor, wealth creator. Leverage the stimulus package that government gives, incentivizing the growth of the economy. I can tell you that the South African economy has not been growing systematically at optimal rates for the last over 10 years. Over 10 years of not optimal growth. And we of course blame the high youth unemployment on this lack of growth. But that's because the majority of citizens are sitting back.
You just want to be offered the job.
A job is a launch pad. If you study in history of humans, there was a time you were given a job. It was temporary. For example, a rich, wealthy man with 400 sheep would say, come and herd my flock of sheep. In exchange, I will pay you. In exchange, if you want to marry my daughter, then when you've accumulated enough of your own, you can pay dowry and take my daughter and go away and establish yourselves. That's how it happened with Moses in the Bible. In fact, if after a certain time you still wanted to work, they would cut one of your fingers to say something is wrong with this one. Today, what have we done? We've accepted that we should perpetually stay in this tenure until age 65, when we go on pension, rely on our accumulated pension until we die. This is why poverty will proliferate. We need to understand that I get paid by SANSA to deliver this fantastic space education portfolio. Grow it to reach every child in South Africa's 9 provinces, 52 districts, 257 local municipalities. But this is not my business. This is my job. My business is what I do when I get home. I park that car in my garage. What do I do? If I watch TV, I'm teaching my children, this is what you do when you're a grown-up. If I sit in the library and work on my investment portfolio, by the way, I'm a real estate investor. I studied real estate intensely, so I am in the category of master property investor. I extract passive income streams from that, because the only way I can be financially independent is the only way I can be financially free. Passive income streams. I build businesses. My PhD in wealth creation was about how to use, you know what wealth creators do? We use our strategy. It's very simple. It's the intelligent use of limited resources to go from where we are to where we want to be in the shortest period of time with the least amount of risk. The number one killer of all businesses, it's risk. And risk is everywhere. By breathing God's free air and being alive, you are facing a risk of death.
Yes.
Death is always attendant upon us. Health risks are COVID. Come on, how many lost their lives? You know, so risk is inherent in everything we do. There's a risk that the battery of that can run out.
Yes.
That's a risk. But what do? You charge it to full so that it can stay. So this is, we are continuously managing down the risk and automatically managing the growth up. When risk goes down, growth goes up. So as a wealth creator, that's what I was trained to do. That's why when they hired me in 2013, in the first year, we engaged with only 2,000 youth in 4 of South Africa's 9 provinces. By the 10th year, because I wear the growth mindset, everything I touch must grow. If it's not growing, something is wrong with me, not it, me. Something is wrong with me. Either I don't understand how to strategize to grow. By the 10th year, I had grown this team, space education team, to 42,000 plus in all 9 provinces. If you calculate the growth, that's over 200% year on year growth. So growth is part of the mandate we get from God called multiplication. Do you see why? If we have a mandate, all of us, from God to multiply, why do only some people study mathematics? Because multiplication is taught in mathematics. So the growth mindset is something every executive, every manager, every staff member must wear. It cannot be that an organization is at this level today, 10 years later, that organization is still at this level. Come on, even a grade R learner leaves grade R, and then the size of the chair increases, because, you know, if those were for grade R's, the little chair, I can't sit on it.
No.
Yeah, growth mindset. And Africa, we sit with what, $3 trillion economy? We are importing $30 billion worth of food, yet we sit with over 65% of the world's arable land, fertile ground. We should be feeding the world.
Not the other way around.
We should be using satellite technology to identify high value agricultural land and protecting it with everything we've got against the various developments, right? And producing food to feed our continent of 1.4 billion people, which is, do you know what it will be by 2035? By the turn of the century, will be 4 billion people. If Strive Masiyiwa is correct. And that's, I love Strive. He's always talking futuristic. Yeah, because Strive is a businessman. Look at the revolution his generation have brought to Africa using telecommunication satellites. Today everybody has at least 2 cell phones, not one anymore. But in 1994, how many people in Nigeria in 1994 were connected to telecommunication service? It's hundreds of thousands. Today it's hundreds of millions. Right? It's close to 200 million people in the continent. Telephone penetration rate has gone up. So we need to use the lessons from that to bring them to agriculture and revolutionize agriculture. At the CSR here, they deal with precision agriculture. Here at SANSA, agriculture is also a focus area. We need to help farmers move away from subsistent production levels, graduate them into entry levels of commercial scale agriculture, produce food to feed the nation so we don't have to import food from elsewhere. And then we create jobs here. If we buy food from somewhere, we are creating jobs there. So this outflow of capital. We currently are, the 16 member states of SADC are renting transponder capacity on telecommunication satellites built elsewhere. With what we are paying to rent that capacity, we can build 3 telecommunication satellites every year of our own. And we achieve what we call sovereignty of our data, sovereignty of capabilities. I mean, that's why we're building this rocket at University of KwaZulu-Natal. All the 13 satellites that have gone up from South Africa since 1999 have been using foreign rockets. We are now investing in building the capability to give us sovereign capability to launch our own satellites. In this era of highly charged geopolitics, somebody switches off, like they switch off aid. They switch off what you were dependent on. What happens? That's why for me, the entrepreneurial mindset is not something that is a nice to have only for some people. I believe that God's mandate to his people, it's a business mandate. But look at what we do. We teach people to consume jobs. We need to inculcate the entrepreneurial mindset into the education system and get young people to understand that you do not have to go and find a job. You can create value, find a solution, build a business around your solution, and enjoy profits. Profits are far better than wages. Far, far better than wages. So the entrepreneurial mindset must be inculcated from grade 1 level, reinforced at home by parents who use the home as a center for economic development. Children must not learn governance at the workplace at the age of 22. They must learn governance at home. Home, who's the primary teacher of a child? It's the parent. But if the parent has derelicted duty, and now we point fingers at the teachers in South Africa, 410,000 teachers in 25,000 schools, teaching 13.5 million children. That's a multi-trillion rand economy. If we bring financial literacy and entrepreneurship to education, I am telling you, we will have 10-year-olds as millionaires. We will have 21-year-olds as billionaires. It's unthinkable today, but with digital technologies, we are seeing billionaires. With artificial intelligence, we are seeing billionaires in their 20s. It used to be in their 50s.
But now
it's going down. It's becoming accessible. I mean, growing up in the 80s, being a millionaire was the big thing. Millionaire.
Millionaire was actually a mystery.
It was far-fetched. But today, look at the proliferation of billionaires everywhere in multiple industries. Where are the billionaires in education? Where are the billionaires in science? You know, space, we are seeing the Elon Musks of this world, the Jeff Bezoses of this world. And I always challenge my fellow science communicators to say, how do we sell space to Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man?
Yes.
What is the value proposition that we make to the richest man in Africa to see value in investing in space as we embrace space at a continental level with the launch of the African Space Agency in Egypt? We have embraced the space. What are we going to do with it? Somebody asked, now that we have data, what are we gonna do with it?